Chapter 24. By Friday morning, the guilt of going to Hannah's Strom was eating Anita alive. She'd told no one about where she'd really gone. Not her parents, not Stella, which made her feel even worse. She wanted to tell her what she'd learned, but she was always worried. Would Stella think she was working against her? Would she be angry that she was working alone? We're a team, she'd said. But if that was true, why hadn't Stella come to school today again? Reading Hannah Strom's notes yesterday, Anita knew there was more going on with the DeVilles than Stella had let on, or than Stella knew. She hadn't known Stella long, but she wore her privilege like a badge, and Anita wasn't sure her friend would ever admit her father was having money trouble. In that way, she felt very different from Stella. There was no question about who Anita was or where she came from. But Stella had a reputation to uphold. No wonder she wouldn't share her financial trouble with Anita. But it made Anita wonder, was that the real reason Stella had volunteered at the shelter? She'd said her father needed her to get a B average because he was on the board. But maybe Stella wanted that B to move up the leaderboard and get a scholarship. No, Stella couldn't catch up with her or Roger this late in the school year. It must just be that board members' children had to maintain certain grades too. Anita had a feeling that was the case. At lunchtime, she sat alone, keeping her distance from Lizzie, which was easy. They'd both been civil but cold to each other all week, while Mum and Dad praised Lizzie's rehearsal. "We're all going to the show this weekend," Mum had said, giving Anita an encouraging look. Her conversation with Mum definitely gave her insight into Lizzie she hadn't had before, but even that secret was eating at her. She had to talk to Lizzie at some point, but first she had to find the Weatherby. Anita looked down at her sketchbook, which had turned into an investigation notebook in which she'd rewritten Hannah's interviews and put all her thoughts and ideas about the Weatherby's disappearance. If she went to see Hannah again, she wanted to have a list of things to discuss. If Stella finds out, she thought, she'll never forgive me. Anita shut the sketchbook and opened her lunch sack. It wasn't the best day for an outdoor lunch. The London weather was overcast, and a cool breeze made her feel like it was still winter instead of spring. The rest of her classmates and her sister were eating indoors. That was all right. She needed the quiet to think about what she was going to do. Should she tell Stella what she'd learned? What would her friend think if she believed Anita was casting blame on her dad or on Bennett, who she'd known since she was a child? And what about Mr. Fonswater? She heard someone drop down beside her at the table. "I'm sorry to invade your space, but I can't sit in there any longer," Roger said by way of greeting. "We don't even have to speak, I promise you. I just don't want to answer another question about the missing diamonds." Anita looked up at Roger and, to her own surprise, smiled. "You're back." "A smile? For me?" he joked. "And you noticed I was missing all week? I had a nasty cold, by the way. I wasn't off selling diamonds." He made a face. "I'm sorry. That was meant to be funny, but it was cruel." He looked down. "I shouldn't have said that. I just didn't want you to think I was guilty." "It's all right. It was something very Cornelius of you to say," she said lightly. "But everyone is a suspect in my eyes till we find that necklace." "Understood. Believe it or not, I can't wait for them to find that necklace either." He pulled out tiny salt and pepper shakers, then spread a napkin on the table and placed a sandwich and a pear on top of it. He also had a small baggie with crisps for a change. "Scotland Yard called my father and me in again last night." "Really?" Anita sat up straighter, trying not to seem too concerned. "Why?" They just wanted to know my father's and my exact whereabouts before and during the show," Roger said, unwrapping his sandwich, which smelt dreadful. "I was backstage, but Dad was on stage, of course, and I'm not sure anyone could dispute that." Anita wrinkled her nose, unable to avoid the question any longer. "Roger, what is in that sandwich? It smells terrible." He held it up. "Sardines. It's delicious." She started to laugh. Our dog wouldn't even eat that sandwich. No wonder no one is talking to you in the cafeteria. It's a very good sandwich, he mumbled. Gives me the energy to think about where the missing Weatherby necklace could be. The quicker you find that necklace, the faster you could concentrate on the leaderboard again. He looked at her. Getting top marks is no fun if you're not competing with me, Weatherby. She felt herself flush. I must admit, I wish I weren't so distracted by this necklace. My leaderboard position is going to suffer, but I can't help it. His eyes flashed. Then we must find that necklace right away. I kind of think sparring you invigorates me. Fighting with you and writing music. He turned bright red. He stammered. Getting higher marks than you drives me. That's why I'm interested in solving this crime. Getting Scotland Yard off my dad's back and having you focusing on our competition. Anita could sense her cheeks warming. She had to admit, she missed fighting with him too. But there was something bigger than her grades going on at the moment. No matter how good Mom and Dad had been recently about her dreams of university, she didn't want them to struggle. She needed to get the necklace back. She looked at her enemy again. Was he still her enemy? Or did they have a common goal now? You have a common goal with Stella too, she thought. But did Stella care about finding the necklace as much as she did? Or was she more worried about protecting her family's reputation? Anita? Roger cocked his head. Cat got your tongue? I'm sorry, she said quickly. She hesitated. She needed to get everything off her chest. She had to tell someone, and it couldn't be Stella. It couldn't be Hannah, not without anything new to share. Maybe the person she had to trust was the one she least expected. I have to tell someone something important, and it's hard to say it out loud. I'm not even sure what I'm saying is the truth, or speculation, or if I'm overreacting, or... She swallowed hard. Tell me, Roger said in all seriousness. And if you tell me one of your truths, I'll share one of my own. You will? Anita wondered. Did Roger know something about the necklace he hadn't shared with Scotland Yard? Okay, but you go first, she said hurriedly, before she could second-guess herself. His face clouded over. All right. He looked down. Our rent is due this week, and I'm hoping we have what we need. Oh, Anita faltered. This was a raw truth she wouldn't expect him to share with anyone, let alone her. She felt a moment of warmth. Was she in Roger's inner circle now? If it makes you feel better, if you win that scholarship and we don't find the Weatherby, I don't know if I'll be back here for my A-levels. Her heart sank at the thought. Either way, your secret is safe with me. They were keeping each other's secrets. This was new. He was the last person Anita thought she'd share something personal with. She felt a pang of guilt and thought of Stella. She missed her friend this week. But there were some things she couldn't share with her, like what to do with Hannah's interviews. Maybe I won't be either. He looked glum. So what's your secret? Anita's heart began to pound. I spoke to a reporter at Reynolds News. Roger raised an eyebrow. Does Cruella know that? Sorry, force of habit. Anita started to squirm. No, Stella doesn't know. Roger's eyebrows seemed to go even higher. And I don't plan on telling her. I didn't tell the reporter anything I thought might be connected to the DeVilles. Just some other strange things that went on that night. And then the reporter, her name is Hannah, shared some interviews she did with people at the Seville, including Bennett. He's loyal to the family. He won't say a word about them, even if the DeVilles were involved, Roger said bitterly, and Anita didn't want to press the issue. Clearly he knew Bennett from experience. He looked at her. What did you find out? They stared at each other for a moment, and Anita hesitated again. Once she told him, she couldn't take it back. Was she ready to trust someone with what she learned? Yes, she thought. If you want to find the necklace, you have to see if what you've pieced together feels like evidence that can be used to find the Weatherby. Anita reached for her notebook and opened it to her list of suspects. Her hands were shaking as she showed him what she'd written. The guilt was almost instant. Suspects: Richard DeVille, Stella DeVille, Bennett Hammond, Percival Fonswater, men with a whistle, hotel workers, fake security. Who were they? Miss Norbert. Roger started laughing when he read the last name. Miss Norbert? I know, Anita said, feeling bad. She loves Hampton House so much, and there are so many animals to take care of. I know the shelter could use the money, but I don't think it's her. Not really. But maybe a volunteer? He scratched his chin. Miss Norbert is a stretch. But the DeVilles and Fonswater, I've done some digging on Percival, and Mr. Jewelry collector was arrested for petty theft last year. Stole a gold bracelet from Harold's. No! Did Hannah know that? She took the notebook back and wrote down the information. Said it was all a misunderstanding. Walked off without paying for it, but still. Turns out there have been 4 unsolved robbery thefts in the last year in London, all with high-profile jewelry pieces. 4? Anita exclaimed. Yep, Roger nodded. Scotland Yard must be looking into him regarding the Weatherby. I'm not sure they even know he was there. I told Hannah that he was the one who put the necklace on me that night at the show, and that he met with the DeVilles before and after the show, according to Stella. Not that she thinks he's a criminal, Anita said quickly, but I don't know. You have a weird feeling, Roger guessed. I would too. He also smelt funny, like dog food, and it makes me wonder if maybe he was putting a scent on the necklace to lure the dogs. It sounds silly, but even Stella wondered if one of the dogs swallowed the necklace. Swallowed? A necklace that big? Roger shook his head. Sorry, I don't see how that's possible. Not unless the necklace broke when it was yanked off your neck. Then maybe a few diamonds were swallowed, but wouldn't you see others on the ground? That's what I thought too, Anita said, biting her lip. Roger scratched his head. Did you say Bennett was interviewed? Anita nodded. Let me read the interview. Anita showed him the page she transcribed. Roger read fast, his eyes moving quickly. When he was done, he looked at her. Even before I read this, I was going to say it could have been Bennett who had something to do with all this. You think so? I've known Bennett since I was small, and that man would do anything to protect the DeVilles. But I didn't think he'd steal. Why would he have to? They're rich. This was the part Anita wished she didn't have to share, but it also felt important. I'm not so sure about that. It seems like the DeVilles haven't paid their hotel bill in months, and that Bennett handles their finances. I've heard a few hotel staffers when I've visited the hotel. He's been dodging continuous hotel requests for payment for 2 months. Roger frowned. My dad did say something about Mr. DeVille not been able to pay him for the fashion show appearance since money was tied up. Dad said he heard Mr. DeVille took out a loan against his manor to fund his fashion house, and they had to downsize. Stella told me they sold the house to move to London to make the fashion label bigger. Do you think they lost the house? I don't know. I do know they still have this place he loves called Hell Hall. Roger pulled a face. I've only been there once or twice, but I remember it being pretty old. Dad said it was Mr. DeVille's baby. He'd never part with it. I believe it was his wife's originally. Stella had mentioned it before. This makes no sense. Stella is always taking private cars, and she's always shopping or ordering room service. If money was tight, would she do that? Anita wondered. Stella had more clothes than anyone she knew. She lived in 2 suites at the Seville. Did Stella know they were broke? Do you think Mr. DeVille knows Bennett hasn't paid their bills? Roger bit his lower lip. I don't know. It's not like Mr. DeVille to run out on a bill. Roger looked sheepish. He's bailed my dad out countless times over the years. I can't imagine the DeVilles not having money. Poor Stella, Anita said quietly. She wondered how much her friend knew. But now that you bring this all up, I overheard something strange with Bennett the other night. Roger told her. I heard him tell a staffer to keep quiet about a bill. I figured it was for the show. He kept saying they had a loan coming in any day now that would square away any of this nastiness. A loan? But from whom? Anita wondered, scratching her chin. Something wasn't sitting well with her about any of this. There were too many strange occurrences, and now knowing Bennett hadn't paid the DeVille's bills, where was their money going? Had Bennett gambled their money away? She thought again of how she'd seen him with those two boys posing as waiters, who she thought had blown the dog whistle. Could he be the one who had taken the necklace? You've got that genius look on your face. What are you thinking? Roger asked. I don't know if this means anything, she started to say, and pointed to the notebook where she'd written about the fake security guards. But there were these two strange men backstage. Do you remember the ones who said they were security guards? Yes, they looked our age, Roger said excitedly. They seemed odd, but I saw Bennett talking to them afterwards, so... His eyes widened. Do you think they're thieves who work for Bennett? Bennett or maybe Percival Fonswater, Anita decided. A gust of wind lifted up Roger's napkin, and half his sandwich nearly went sliding off the table. Anita stopped it in time, but the smell of that sandwich up close was more than she could stand. She pushed the sandwich back to Roger, making a face. The smell reminds me of dog food, Roger said suddenly. You said Fonswater smelled like dog food, or the necklace did after you saw him. And Fonswater is a thief. We know that. And we know Bennett is in over his head. What if Bennett and Fonswater stole the necklace with the dog's help to get the DeVilles out of trouble? Anita grimaced. Roger was saying the things she'd been afraid to say for so long, but putting it all together, how could it be anything but the truth? And Stella and her dad don't even know it. I need to tell them. Anita's heart was racing. Did we just crack this case? I think we did, Weatherby, Roger said, and they beamed at each other till Anita felt so funny she had to look away. Roger? They both turned around. Headmaster Dougal was walking purposely towards them, and he didn't look happy.